Hey everybody, Epic Eddie here, and we're here for another Real Talk Tuesday. And man, it's gonna be a doozy because Chris Rock got rocked.
What is the five fingers say to the face?
What?
Slap!
Man. But before we get into this, obviously we can't get started unless we get some tequila. So real quick, the tequila I chose today is, and I'm gonna butcher this, so Spanish speakers don't at me, but it's the Riqueza Cultural, which from what I understand, it means cultural wealth. I've had this before, actually, when he first brought it out. It's pretty good. Let's get into this. Yeah, it's good. It's got like a kind of a smoky flavor, but before we get into this, remember, if you guys get anything out of this, please make sure you hit that like button. Also hit the subscribe button. And if you hit that little bell, it'll actually give you notifications when I post new stuff. So definitely make sure you hit that, because I know I've been a little sporadic, but I had a big move. I'm out here in Arizona now, in Phoenix, with some of my really, really good friends. I was actually going to talk about that and talk about the big move and kind of my reasoning for making the move and everything, but I might have to say that for next time, because just the other day, some things went down. So I think I'm going to talk about that. Obviously, everybody's been talking about it, but yeah, Will Smith smacked the shit out of Chris Rock at the Oscars. And I know everyone's like, why should we care? Why are we talking about this? Well, I wanted to talk about it just because there's so many layers to it, but it gets into some real interesting points of that situation and just kind of the ramifications of it, and it's why I wanted to talk about it. Oh yeah, I got new hair too, by the way. I've been rocking the party buns, is what I like to call it. And then I put a little blue on this side, so I don't know, I've been digging it. If you like it, throw it in the comments. Let me know. If you don't, I don't care, because it's done. But all right. So keep in mind, this is just my opinion of things, but everyone is entitled to their own opinion. And I've noticed, just looking at comments and looking at different things, people have kind of picked a lot of different sides, which honestly, I understand all of those points, and they make sense. Will's reasoning behind doing it, you know, people defending Chris Rock, people coming at Chris Rock, and vice versa. But here's the thing. My first thing is that I completely understand and, you know, respect the fact that Will Smith wanted to defend his wife. All right. So let's just put that out there, simply put. And Will Smith, I've been a fan of for a very long time. I will say I was kind of disappointed in his actions, and I'll explain why in a bit. But overall, I get why he did what he did. But here's the thing. First and foremost, I don't think Chris Rock knew that Jada had alopecia. I was certainly not aware at all until after this incident happened, and then it started coming up. I think majority of people were not aware that she had alopecia before this incident. It wasn't until afterwards, and then people start going, well, he was making fun of her having alopecia. That was not the intent of that joke. The joke was just because she had buzzed her hair short, and she was wearing a military green dress, which looked like G.I. Jane's colors, military colors, and shaved head, especially because there is still remnant, you know, like it's shaved so you can see the buzzed hair, not just like completely smooth bald, which means that if it was completely smooth, the hair had to like all fallen out, then you could probably notice that. But because it was just kind of buzzed, it looked like she might have just made the choice to buzz it. That's what I initially thought. Now, that being said, was, you know, it gets into a whole thing about comedy itself. And I was under the learning, as far as comedy is concerned, one of my good friends said it, and I don't know if he got it from somewhere else, but he said either everything's funny or none of it's funny. And basically that means either you have to decide that any subject matter can be joked about, or you can't, or nothing can be joked about. Because once you begin to pick and choose what you can joke about and what's not, then it becomes down to personal opinion and what might offend you at the time. And that's not a fair thing with comedy. Just because everybody's personal personal thing is different. You could make a joke about, I don't know, stepfathers, and that would be a funny thing. But for somebody else, they might have some issues with their stepdad, or his stepdad might have did something to them, and that felt like a personal attack. Or people that joke about depression. And while some people might find it funny, some people might have been personally dealing with it, and for them, at least for that reason, it might trigger them. Or somebody passing away, that might hit them. Like, for example, when I watch movies, when somebody would pass away, and I've had a lot of people pass away in my life, I never really triggered any kind of emotion. Once my mom passed, though, there's a lot of times I'll watch movies and all of a sudden they talk about somebody passing, and it really triggers an emotional reaction out of me. It's not even thought about, it's just really subconscious kind of. And so it would not have done that before, but now that I have that personal emotional investment in it, then when those situations happen, guess what? I react. And so I totally get that portion of it. Sometimes things hurt people. And I always say it all depends on intention. Was the intention of something being said to intentionally hurt you? Like, hey, screw you. You've got alopecia and I'm going to make fun of that and bully that. Or is the intention just to make a joke of something and not necessarily at the expense of an actual disease or condition, you know? Now, that being said, sometimes, even though I feel like all subjects should be able to be joked about, do some people do it with an ill intent? Yes. And is that funny? No. Do some people just have bad delivery? Yes. And is that funny? No. Are some people just not funny and they try to make jokes and it's just like, doesn't work? Yeah, that happens sometimes. And is that funny? No. So that, I don't agree all jokes are funny. I'm just saying all subjects should be able to be joked about. Now, that being said, there's also a time and place for those things. Can't just be coming in cracking jokes to somebody you don't know, just on the streets. So there is a time and place. That also being said, in this instant, Chris Rock was the host for the Oscars, and Chris Rock is a professional comedian. So his job is to make jokes, and he'd make jokes about a lot of people. So it wasn't just like he personally just came after them specifically and that was it. But no, he was making jokes about everybody, and that's what he does. The best thing you can do if a comedian's not funny is just not laugh. I can tell you the worst thing you can do to a comedian is just not laugh to their jokes. Bombing on stage is like a death sentence on stage. But no matter what a person says, especially in an instant like that where you're in a forum of that nature, you shouldn't go putting your hands on anybody. Now, if they're in the streets and he would have said that, that's a whole different story. Somebody's coming at your wife and now you feel like that's a personal attack on your wife and we're just out in the streets. All right, I get it. But when you're in a situation like that, in a public forum, in a formal forum, and it's a comedian, then there's so many different ways that could have been handled, especially because Will Smith is at a point in his career that he's big enough that he can say, hey, like pull Chris Rock aside and actually talk to him. He probably has Chris Rock's number. It's not like Will Smith is just some like up and coming actor or just some random person that was there that he couldn't talk to him like that. Call him out afterwards. Or if you felt like you had the need to smack him afterwards, okay? But in that situation, the reason I say this is because there's so many layers to what this did. The first thing is it sets a real bad precedence for audience comedian interaction, because now it sets this bar that, okay, if a comedian is up and they say something that offends me, then I should be able to come up and physically assault them. And that's a scary and dangerous thing for comics and performers, because here's the thing, anybody can be offended by anything because, like I said before, of your different personal situations. A comedian doesn't know everybody's situation, and yes, that is a risk a comedian takes if they want to do crowd work and start talking with and about people. But at the end of the day, if you're coming to a comedy show, you're there for the comedy, and if it just doesn't hit you right, you can not laugh, and you always have the option to leave. Now, in the Oscar situation, he may not have had the option to leave, but again, I'm just saying in a general sense, you have those options, and it sucks because it really hinders what comedy can be, because like what subject is safe, because again, you could talk about anything and anybody could be offended by it because of certain situations that people go through and you have no clue. So, I mean, it goes into a whole situation of how are you able to control yourself and what triggers you and what affects you and how you react and respond to those things. Another thing is that, and as soon as I bring this up, I know everyone's going to go, why are you bringing race into things? Well, because unfortunately, this is something as minorities and people of color we have to think about. And one of the things that immediately crossed my mind is now that because of the fact that two black men and one assaulted another during a very formal event, it unfortunately opens the door, and it shouldn't be like this, but it unfortunately opens the door that we walk into stereotypes that we as minorities have been fighting against for years, that we're loud and ghetto and violent. And unfortunately, with that situation, it's opened a door for people to just go, see, that's what I'm talking about. And it sucks. Again, it sucks we have to think about those things. It sucks that we have to kind of tippy toe and watch for situations like that and not put ourselves in those positions. But it is what it is. That's unfortunately where we're at in society still today. And it sucks because it's two such big names and big stars that unfortunately got into this conflict during such a formal thing. And then just the yelling afterwards and that whole situation, it opened the door. And I know some people are like, well, I didn't think of it that way, or I didn't see it that way. And again, that's fine. You're not going to see it that way. But a lot of minorities have to look at that and see it that way. And on top of that, a lot of people say, well, I didn't think that when I saw it. I just saw, one guy defending another, which is good. I'm glad you saw it that way. But I've been looking through different comments on different people's posts, and unfortunately, I have already been seeing the type of comments of saying, yep, see, you can take somebody out of the hood, but you can't take the hood out of the person, or yep, I bet he's showing his color now, and things of that nature. And that sucks. It sucks that people think that way to begin with. And honestly, they would have probably thought that way before you gave them an excuse to say something. But again, it just opens that door to fall into stereotypes that we've been fighting for such a long time. And there was an opportunity to just take a higher road. Because I just picture this, and I had this conversation with somebody about this before. Let's say Will took the high road and didn't say anything then. Looked over at Jada, said, I'll talk to him afterwards. Then Will Smith wins Best Actor. He gets to give a speech. And in that speech, he talked about, love and protecting family and all those things. And then he addressed what Chris said and let people know, I don't know if you knew this or not, but my wife is battling alopecia. And the joke that you said just really hit wrong. And I definitely would like you to apologize to her at some point, because I do want to protect my family. And that's important. Or however he wanted to say that in an eloquent fashion. Now, Chris Rock would look bad in that situation, and he would have had the opportunity to, because again, he's still the host, he's still coming up, so he would have had an opportunity to come up and apologize publicly to everyone. Will would have looked a lot better in that situation, because he, again, wouldn't have assaulted somebody and used that speech to be able to address that situation. And 3, he would have been able to defend Jada, and if she felt some kind of embarrassment or some kind of way, defend her at the same time, all in one. And it wouldn't have taken away from all the rest of the show and what would have happened that night. But unfortunately, because of that situation, all anybody's talking about right now is the smack. All everyone's talking about. That's it. We weren't talking about the fact that he won Actor of the Year, the performance, and the Williams family. And we haven't talked about, from what I understand, and I didn't even know this, that the Oscars were actually either produced or directed, I think, by a black producer director, which is awesome. I think that was the first time. But just all these things that happened during the Oscars were completely washed away because of that event. And then Will Smith also risked messing up his career, and then also risked being brought up on charges. Now, I think Chris Rock, from what I understand so far, is not pressing any charges or anything. But again, he had that risk, because Chris Rock had every right to press charges if he wanted to, because he just got assaulted. So, I mean, am I saying, hey, let's cancel Will Smith, or hey, Will Smith is bad? Nah, man. Like, I feel like genuinely Will Smith has a good heart, and he was just trying to do the right thing by his wife and his family. And then also, I mean, he's been, and I've made a lot of jokes too in his expense, but generally he's gotten a lot of flack for a lot of the things that his family's been through. And I think that eventually it hit a chord and he just reacted. So I'm not mad at him. I don't think we should just be done with him, but ultimately I was just real disappointed. But again, everything's not just black and white. There's so much gray area to it. So I do commend him for standing up for his wife and his family. I do commend him for apologizing afterwards. I think he actually made a formal apology, written apology to Chris Rock. Now, here's the thing. I do want to mention this. Could there have been a possibility that Chris Rock knew about her situation and still made that joke? Yeah. I doubt it, because I doubt that he would have just went in that malicious. But again, I also didn't expect Will Smith to come up and smack him in the face. So, so there is that possibility. But I highly doubt that was the case, because it wasn't an alopecia joke. It was just a joke about having a buzz head, wear military green, G.I. Jane. Now, did I think the joke was funny? No, I thought it was really outdated. Like, G.I. Jane hasn't been around since the 90s. Like, it was a really outdated reference. So it wasn't funny. But but I don't think it was that like derogatory or disrespectful as some people claimed it to be. Now, if he knew that she had alopecia and he was just coming at her like that, then yeah, it was disrespectful and he should apologize for that. So there's that. But again, that depends on if he actually knew or not. And that could have been handled a lot differently. But again, that's my whole opinion. I mean, there's going to be some people who agree with me. I'm sure there's people who disagree with me. But that's just, again, it's such a nuance. It's not just black and white. Nobody's just completely right or wrong. Life's not that easy. And the whole thing's a lot more complicated than that. But that's just my 2 cents on the whole situation. Now, was it entertaining? Hell yes. And are the memes great? Hell yes. So I definitely am enjoying the comedy gold that's coming out of the whole situation. But at the end of the day, I hope that they hash it out. They have figured it out. I hope everyone can blow past this, and I hope that we can close the doors to the stereotypes. I hope that we can open awareness for people with conditions like alopecia, and I hope we can also protect comedy and comics at the same time. That being said, I know this was a little bit more not in depth about my life or our conditions, but I had to be talked about today because goodness gracious. But I hope everyone is well. Thank you guys for always keeping in touch with me. I will be doing a lot more now. Finally, that I'm settled in. My next real talk, I will talk about the move and why I wound up in here. Again, I'm still kind of putting things together. I need to put my books on my bookshelf. Look at that empty thing. Even though I think this looks decent as far as, oh man, I'm all shiny. As far as, my setup for this, I got a new mic, and so I got a lot more table space. You can't see it, but I got a lot more table space to be able to work with. So let me know if this looks good for you guys, if you like the new look. But I will definitely be putting a lot more content out now. I got not chewed out, but let's say assertively pushed a couple weeks ago by my youngest brother Daniel. Shout out to you to get this done. So I made him a deal, and so he came through on his end. So he was like, "All right, I better see another Real Talk Tuesday because I haven't been seeing one." So I'm back on it. I'm gonna try to make sure I motivate myself and get myself going more content. You guys definitely help the motivation when you add your comments and everything down and interact with me. So definitely show some love or hate or whatever. I just say something at least, and just let me know what you guys think about the whole situation. Love to talk to you guys and see what your thoughts are. And I will also be putting more content out on TikTok. I will definitely be focusing a lot on my weight loss journey. So check that out. I'll put the link for it right here, or my TikTok right here. But just let me know what you guys want to see more of. I have a lot of ideas for content I'm going to start putting out, and so I'm just going to start throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what you guys wind up liking. So definitely let me know by commenting or liking, and sharing with everybody else. So I appreciate you guys. Hope your week goes well, and I'll see you guys next week. Until then, remember, life's short, make it epic. I'll see you guys later. Cheers.
That's a wrap.